The day my mother fell seriously ill began like any other. The morning sunlight crept into the kitchen, and she was humming softly as she prepared breakfast, the smell of tea and bread mingling with the faint scent of her perfume. I remember glancing up from my phone, distracted as always by social media and school assignments, and thinking how normal everything seemed, how ordinary, how fleetingly secure. But that day, beneath the familiar rhythms, an unease lingered in the corners of my mind, subtle, almost imperceptible, a cough that seemed longer than usual, a pause in her step as she moved across the kitchen floor, a fleeting wince when she lifted the teapot. I saw these signs, but I dismissed them. I had learned to assume she was indestructible. That assumption, comforting in its simplicity, would prove catastrophic. Within weeks, what I had dismissed as minor signs became undeniable. My mother, my anchor, was battling something far beyond our control. The doctor's office, with its sterile walls and mechanical hum, became our second home. I watched her undergo tests, scans, and consultations, her calm exterior masking exhaustion I'd now see clearly. For the first time, I was forced to witness her vulnerability in a way that unsettled me deeply. The person who had always been strong, unwavering, and capable now relied on me to hold the space for fear, uncertainty, and pain. The tables had turned, and I wasn't prepared. In the early days, I tried to cling to routine. School, homework, chores, and social life continued as though the universe had not shifted beneath me. Friends reached out occasionally, offering words of sympathy, advice, or empty encouragement, but they could not grasp the magnitude of what was happening. Family tried to support, but each person's grief manifested differently. My sibling, younger and more dependent, oscillated between anger, confusion, and despair, often blaming me silently for not fixing things. I felt an impossible responsibility settle on my shoulders. I had to remain strong, calm, and collected, even as the world I knew began to unravel. The rise of my inner struggle was gradual but undeniable. I became a caregiver in ways I had never imagined. I managed medications, kept track of doctor appointments, cooked meals that were both nourishing and comforting, and monitored her energy levels throughout the day. Nights were sleepless, filled with fear and worry, imagining every worst-case scenario. I discovered reserves of patience, resilience, and focus I didn't know I possessed. Yet each day also extracted a toll. My body grew weary, my mind exhausted, my heart heavy with an unspoken dread. I learned, painfully, that survival required constant vigilance and emotional suppression. My own life school, friends, personal dreams was placed on hold. And yet, there was no choice. She depended on me, and I could not abandon her. But resilience has limits. Even the strongest among us can break under relentless pressure. The breaking point arrived on an ordinary Tuesday. She had been weaker than usual, fatigued, unable to lift herself from the chair without effort. The doctor's voice, clinical and detached, told us the news I had been bracing for but never fully accepted. The illness had advanced, and treatments were no longer effective. I felt my knees buckle, my vision blur, the room spinning in slow motion. I had to steady myself on the edge of the counter, gripping it until my knuckles whitened. The world seemed absurdly bright outside the window while my universe inside contracted into a tunnel of horror. Her decline was rapid after that. Each day, a new challenge arose: complications, infections, moments of confusion, pain. I sat at her bedside, sometimes holding her hand, sometimes speaking softly to her when she seemed awake, sometimes silent, trying to contain the sobs that threatened to break free. I felt helpless in ways I could not articulate, watching someone I loved more than life itself suffer. There was anger, anger at the unfairness of it all, at the helplessness, at the randomness of fate. And still, amidst the pain, I tried to remain the person she had raised me to be: calm, caring, resilient, attentive. The day she died is etched into my memory with unbearable clarity. I was there, as I had been every day, holding her hand, trying to offer comfort I could not feel, words that felt hollow even as I spoke them. I remember the sudden stillness of her breath, the faint tremor that betrayed the finality I'd not yet accept. The medical staff confirmed what I already knew in my bones, yet their words felt unreal, as though spoken underwater. My mother, the constant, the guide, the safe harbor of my life, was gone. Just like that. No grand farewell, no cinematic ending, just absence. The immediate aftermath was a haze of tears, funeral arrangements, condolences, and surreal conversations. People came to express sympathy, but their words could not penetrate the void. My sibling and I were left to navigate our grief in parallel, sometimes together, sometimes alone. Nights were the hardest, filled with the memory of her voice, her touch, the way she had filled the house with warmth and life. I found myself wandering from room to room, searching for traces of her that would never return. Every corner of the house held echoes of her presence, every object a monument to her love and labor. I tried to maintain normalcy, but it was impossible. School and work continued. Friends reached out, yet nothing could fill the emptiness. I began journaling obsessively, attempting to articulate feelings that felt too vast and amorphous to name. The act of writing became a lifeline, a fragile attempt to structure chaos. I wrote about my memories, my regrets, my anger, despair. I wrote about hope too, though it was faint and fragile, emerging in the quietest moments between tears. In those pages, I began to see the first glimmers of a truth I could not yet fully grasp. Grief, though devastating, was a teacher, and loss could illuminate hidden capacities for resilience and love. The fallout of her death was felt in every aspect of life. Relationships strained under the weight of unspoken grief. Friends, uncertain of how to comfort me, pulled back. Romantic relationships faltered under my inability to be fully present. Family dynamics shifted. My sibling and I, once guided by her steady hand, struggled to navigate decisions, responsibilities, and conflicts. There were moments of isolation so deep they were almost physical, as if the world itself had narrowed to a point and left me suspended, dangling between despair and necessity. Yet amidst the struggle, small moments of human connection emerged. A friend who sat silently with me for hours, offering no advice, only presence. A neighbor who dropped off food without comment, understanding that care does not always require words. Even strangers, through small acts of kindness, reminded me that love could exist beyond my mother's absence. These moments, fragile as they were, became stepping stones. They taught me that connection does not replace loss, but can coexist with it, that the human heart, even when fractured, retains its capacity for compassion and intimacy. As weeks turned into months, I began to notice subtle changes in myself. I learned to sit with pain without being consumed by it, to feel grief without losing function entirely. I discovered a capacity for empathy I had never fully recognized, shaped by witnessing suffering firsthand. I began to rebuild routines, slowly, carefully, always aware that the world had shifted irrevocably. The lessons of her life, the patience, the resilience, the quiet strength became my guideposts. They helped me navigate a new reality, one in which absence and love could coexist. Romantic love re-entered my life tentatively. Initially, it was terrifying to imagine trusting someone again, to risk opening a heart that had been broken by loss. I approached relationships cautiously, testing boundaries, learning to communicate vulnerability without fear, learning that intimacy could exist without erasing memory. I realized that loving again was not a betrayal of her memory. It was an extension of it. Her example had taught me what love could be, and now I had to apply that understanding to new connections, in ways that honored the past while embracing the present. Through all of this, the chronological unfolding of events, her illness, decline, death, and my subsequent journey revealed the complexity of grief. It is not linear. It is not predictable. It is full of setbacks, relapses, and moments of unexpected clarity. It tests every facet of our being: emotional, psychological, physical, and relational. Yet within these challenges lies the potential for transformation. By navigating each stage, I began to understand that loss does not eliminate love. It reconfigures it, demanding that we carry memories forward while opening space for new connections. Eventually, I came to recognize that survival and healing are acts of intentionality. They require reflection, effort, and courage. I had to actively choose to engage with life again, to take risks, to build relationships, to invest emotionally, even when the outcome was uncertain. Each decision to reach out, to connect, to love, became a declaration of resilience. Each moment of emotional presence, whether in friendship, family, or romance, was a tribute to her life and the lessons she had instilled in me. By the end of this period, the months following her death, I had begun to chart a path forward. It was neither easy nor smooth, but it was possible. I learned that grief and love are intertwined. That loss, while devastating, can expand the heart's capacity to connect, to empathize, and to care. I discovered that survival is not passive. It is an active, daily engagement with reality, memory, and the human need for connection. And most importantly, I learned that loving again, after losing someone so central to your existence, is not only possible, it is a testament to the enduring power of the human heart.